Hey gang, Drex from DrexFactor.com here, and I've got a special review and walkthrough for the version 4 of Ultrapoi from Pyroterra and Lighttoys. This video is for those of us who are working professionals, who do corporate gigs, run performance troops, and need to know the ins and outs of what the 4th generation Ultrapoi can really do. Buckle in, because this one's going to be a long one. There are a lot of features in this generation. Before we dive in, I just want to take a moment to give a shout out to the friends of the channel. Big thanks to Dark Monk, Spinballs, and Ultrapoi for helping to make the videos on this channel possible. You can visit them all on the web by following the links down in the description of this video. Now, on with the show. So, I'm assuming if you're watching this review that you're already familiar with programmable poi. These LED poi use the persistence of vision effect to generate light trails that feature images, photos, patterns, and messages. The Ultrapoi Maxis are 24 inches or 63 centimeters long and can handle images that are up to 200 pixels in height. The Ultrapoi Classic are about 18 inches long or 46 centimeters and display images with a height of 136 pixels. The Ultrapoi Minis are about 11 inches long or 30 centimeters and display images with a height of 72 pixels. Both sets of poi are programmed using custom written software that's available for both PC and Mac. If you've ever used iMovie, Windows Movie Maker, or any other video editing software, you'll find the interface really intuitive. Basically, you set down a timeline for a series of images or messages you want to display. You can do this just as a series of patterns, or you can select a piece of music you're going to program the poi to. The software automatically scales down any images or photos you have to the maximum size that your poi can handle, so you don't need to know Photoshop or anything to deal with them. Open an image on your computer and drop it into the timeline, dragging the edges of it along to set the amount of time you'd like the poi to display this pattern for. Once you've finished your program, you can download it to your poi via USB and you're ready to spin. Thanks to the fact that these poi have Pyroterra's new FT chips inside, you can also use a remote control to turn them off and on, as well as start and stop individual programs. To pair them, first turn on the remote by holding the power button until the blue light comes on. Now hold down the pair button until the blue light flashes. Next, turn on your poi by holding down the button until the poi flash white. They then turn purple, which means they're ready to pair. Push the pair button on the remote and you're done. The poi should turn blue to let you know that pairing has been successful. The remote control can now select individual colors, brightness, strobe modes, and start individual programs. Now, here's where things start getting really cool. I've had programmable poi that can be controlled via remote before, and generally that's only useful to start a program before you go out on stage. The signals from the remote aren't really dependable enough to activate mid-performance because the body of the performer can be blocking them, or there may be some interference in the area. The Lighttoys remote fixes both of these problems. First, when pairing the remote, it actually scans the frequency spectrum in the area and selects an operating frequency that has minimal interference. Second, the remote continues to broadcast a signal at regular intervals. So even if one poi didn't pick up the signal the first time, it gets sent a new signal when it's in clearer range that includes a timestamp for where the program or the poi are supposed to be. In other words, it's actually impossible to get the two poi out of sync on their program if you're using the remote control. You can also pair dozens of devices to just a single remote, just so long as they all have FT chips in them. For example, if I have a show featuring both Lighttoys staves as well as poi, I can control them all from the same remote control. Even though the Lighttoys staves don't support images or pictures, I can still set colors, brightness, and strobe patterns for all devices that have FT chips in them. One really cool change that they've made to this generation of products is that they're modular. You can actually create staffs and double staffs that are programmable by connecting your visual poi to carbon-fibre staff cores that are also available through Pyroterra and Lighttoys. Depending upon the length of the core and the size of the poi that you're using, you can wind up with a staff that's as short as 34 inches or 87 centimeters, or as long as 69 inches or 175 centimeters. You can also custom write programs for FT devices using a markup language that Lighttoys developed specifically for this product. I find it difficult to imagine that this will appeal to anybody other than the most technologically minded, but it's a cool feature to have and definitely gives you the greatest level of control over the products. So let's talk some turkey on the features that matter most to professional performers: resolution, ease of programming, battery life, and reliability. The resolution in this generation of poi has increased dramatically. The resolution of the Ultrapoi Classics is up 70%, and the resolution of the Minis is up 50%. You're still best off opting with programming in images that aren't ultra detailed, but most company logos and messages should read loud and clear. The software is super easy to use. I love that I can program the poi to run with a piece of music and have control over the display down to a single beat. The timeline interface ensures incredible accuracy, and the user interface is incredibly clean. As for battery life, it really depends on the size of the poi you're using and how you're using them. I did a test with a set of these at full brightness and with the poi displaying nothing but white, and I got about a half an hour of life out of them. If you want them to last longer, do your best to program in images that don't include any white areas and turn down the brightness a bit. At full brightness, these are completely visible even in the light of day. If you're in a darkened room, you do not need them to be on that bright. Be smart and you can get hours out of the battery life. Now reliability. Programmable poi in general are notorious for being delicate and very easily damaged. If this is a part of how you make your living, you should probably be pretty careful with them, but accidents do happen and sometimes damage can occur even when using the poi properly. As I'm told, part of the problem stems from the fact that when the poi encounter collisions, the boards inside get bent back and forth, and that can unseat a battery or chip connections. With this generation, Pyroterra has put tiny holes along the board to concentrate points of stress away from the chips. I've been using a set of the minis now for several days and I've been unable to break them. I don't know what that looks like in the long term though, so I'll probably do a follow-up review in a few months. So overall, the 4th generation visual poi are a massive leap forward, especially for professional performers. Between the ease of the programming interface, the amazing features of the remote, and how easy the poi are to use, that they're a really good investment for any professional troupe or performer to make. I am really impressed by how many features they've managed to fit into this generation of their product. Visual Poi version 4 are set to drop at the beginning of September. Currently, pricing is set to $1,800 for the Visual Poi Maxis, $1,200 for the Visual Poi Classics, and $600 for the Visual Poi Minis. Pricing and release dates are subject to change though. Look for updates at lighttoys.cz. One other note, Pyroterra actually now has a guy based in the United States who can do some of the most common repairs on these poi. So in many cases, you no longer have to ship the poi across the pond in order to get them fixed. If you have any other specific questions about these, please let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to answer to the best of my abilities. Thanks for watching and enjoy the flow. Peace. Hey there, thanks so much for watching my video. If you got anything out of it, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel to help it grow. Special thanks to all of my wonderful backers on Patreon. You guys are the ones that make these videos possible. If you're not a current backer and would like to sign up to support my channel, please visit patreon.com/DrexFactorPoi. Thanks so much in advance.